Bishop Barron, great to see you again. Welcome back to Rome.
Yeah, well, thank you. Always good to be with you, Colin.
Now, we spoke last year when you were here for the first edition of the Synod.
Yeah.
How does it compare? It's a month long this year, it was a month long last year. What's the comparison?
Well, it's similar that way. It's long, and I've said it many times, it's a slog. I mean, they really work us. We get there at 8:45 for prayer, and the day ends at 7:30 p.m.
Wow.
Now, we have a little Roman siesta break in the middle there, for lunch. But they work you. It's a challenge, A difference, I would say, last year had more of an omnium gatherum quality. Like people were talking about all kinds of different things and different themes arose. This year is more focused. The instrumentum laboris really got us back onto synodality. One of the marks of last year was, the Synod on Synodality became the Synod in a way on everything, because all kinds of topics came up. This year, I think it's cleaner, it's clearer, and it's focused on synodality itself. As is well known, a lot of the hot button issues that were raised last year have been given to the study groups, and so the Synod itself, and that's true, we're 2 weeks into it now, they've not been the topic of our conversation.
Now, I know, Bishop, that there are limits around what you can talk about and can't talk about because they like to just keep it confined to the Synod until it's finished. But is there anything different coming up or unusual or anything that has surprised you, or is it...
No. I'd say this, the famous question, what is synodality? Yeah. What do you mean? To me, it's clearer this time around. I would say three basic things. One is the wider consultation with the laity so they can be more involved in the decision-making process of the church. That's a basic concern of synodality, that we listen more fully, more widely, especially to voices often marginalized. That's a big part of it. Second thing I would say is accountability and transparency on the part of church leadership, that we have an obligation to let people know how and why we're making the decisions we make. So I think maybe those three things is wider consultation, greater accountability, greater transparency are the marks of synodality. Now, I don't mean this as a criticism, but to me, it's an inward-looking approach. It's looking at church governance. It's how is the church managing its interior life, how it's governing itself. And so those three elements apply there. A drum that I beat last year, and I keep beating this year, is I think that's true for a small percentage of the laity who will be involved in the governance of the church. The vast majority of the laity are involved in the Christification of the world, to carry the gospel out into the world and be great Catholic lawyers and teachers and writers and business leaders, etc. If they're asking me, they're not, but if they were, I'd say that would be a good synod as a follow-up, is now the role of the laity in the transformation of the world. Synodality, again, I don't mean it critically, is looking more inward at how are we governing ourselves and how are we involving the laity in that governance.
When all is said and done and this month-long Synod has passed and we had the one last year, looking back on it, what would you see as saying that was a great success, worthwhile exercise? What would the result be?
Maybe I'd say a couple things. One would be what we just talked about. If you could say, yes, those have all been strengthened all over the church. Or I go back to my diocese and say, we really do on those 3 points, greater consultation, greater accountability, greater transparency, that those have been realized more fully. Or if a bishop, let's say another part of the world, says, yeah, I'm going to make these things happen in my diocese, that would be a sign of a success of the Synod. But something a little more intangible, and I think one of the best parts of the Synod, is just being with these people from all over the world. There was a lovely moment, I must say, the first day we got back together. It was a bit like the first day of school when you're starting, the new grade. Yeah, here's the people I haven't seen for a year, most of them, and it was lovely. It was a sense of the universal church and that we're connecting across ethnic and ideological divides and all of that. So I think that's a great fruit of the Synod. No matter what you say about what we're talking about, the very fact that we're together talking and getting to know each other. I've said many times, and I don't mean it as a joke, the coffee breaks are my favorite parts of the Synod. And that remains true this year as well. We have half-hour coffee break morning, half-hour in the afternoon. And I just circle the room. I get my coffee or whatever, and I circle the room, and I just jump into this, the conversation and that. And I love that moment. That's maybe the best part of the Synod.
Bishop Robert Barron, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you so much once again.
Always good to be with you, Colin. Thanks.